Hey, it's me, Talia, and how are you doing? I've been doing great. The spring is finally here. Everything is green and pretty. It's finally starting to drizzle where I live, and April is just a week away. So, why don't we sit down and plan together the bullet journal spreads for April? So, the theme that I've chosen for this month is a pretty bond theme. Partly because it's spring and everything is so beautiful and colorful, and mostly because I found this cake on Pinterest, which, by the way, managed to inspire me a ton. I mean, just look at it. It's so pretty that it's almost a shame to eat it. I was scrolling through Pinterest to find some inspiration for my April bullet journal spreads, and then I found this cake, and I was like, gosh, I got to do this. So here we are, drawing cute doodles of duck in my April bullet journal. For my cover page, as usual, I'm keeping it pretty simple and minimal with a plain green background topped with duck doodle that I did from before and some random yet pretty lettering for April. As you can see, this is not calligraphy. And that's because, as I mentioned in my 2022 bullet journal setup video, I want to learn more about lettering this year. And there are just so many different lettering styles. There is block lettering, shadow lettering, bubble lettering, and so many more that I don't even know about. Honestly, there is so much to learn. And that's why I wanted to be a little experimental with the lettering for this month's headings. And then lastly, for my cover page, I also added a small calendar for reference. On this next page is where I plan on writing all the important dates of the month. In my past two spreads for February and March, I did not leave much space for important dates, and I missed out on the dates of important holidays and stuff. I don't know why, but for some reason, I cannot for the world seem to remember the dates of the festivals. If you are an Indian, you would know that there are just one too many of these festivals. When I was in college, my friends would remind me and say, "Hey, tomorrow is a holiday, you don't have to come to college." And I would reply with, "What holiday?" I am so sorry to tell you, but if you remember dates and festivals, you are officially an adult. And I've been dodging this part of adulthood for far too long now. So it's about time that I embrace this essential part of being an adult, and hence all of the space for important dates. But to keep the child alive in these pages, I also decided to decorate it with lily pads and a lily pot. These lily pads are purely decorative, but I enjoy doing them. For the most part of my childhood, I grew up as a lone child. No matter how hard I searched, I never found a single soul of my age to play with me. So I would spend most of my evenings in my bedroom trying a new hobby like painting, drawing, poetry, or other random stuff. Starting a bullet journal has somehow taken me back to those days, feeling like a kid again, drawing in my sketchbook by the window. Ah, good old days. Anyway, for the heading, I'm using a random font. I'm marking all the Sundays of the month to draw some distinction between every week. On these two pages next, I have my goals, expenses, and a quick review of the month section, which is pretty standard in my bullet journal. I have also planned a small pond down here to keep up with the spirit of the theme for April. I should have painted the pond with watercolors instead of coloring them with brush markers. It would have been much easier and would look way better. But what can we do now? What has happened has happened. Anyway, as I'm recording this voiceover now, I can't help but think of the story of the ugly duckling. In case you haven't heard of the story, The Ugly Duckling is a story about a cygnut that hatches into a duck nest. But since the little cygnut looks nothing like a duckling, it becomes a target to abuse and bully. The story describes how the cygnut is bullied and ostracized by other farm birds and animals, eventually leading to the cygnut living in isolation with low self esteem. Until one day when it discovers the birds of its kind, the swans. The story then ends on a happy note with the cygnet now fully grown into a swan, realizing how beautiful it is and finally finding a home and family. Now, why on earth am I even telling you this story? Simply because there are some crucial things that the story of the ugly duckling throws light onto. It sheds light on the importance of accepting others the way they are and on self acceptance. But what the story does not talk much about is the importance of surrounding yourself with positive people in life. which I'll talk about in a minute, but let me first tell you about these two pages next, which are for habit and mood tracking and gratitude log. For the headings of these two pages, I have picked bubble lettering as I find them very cute. Rather than writing them one after the other, I thought it would be much better if I wrote them all together and then cut them out one after the other. That way I could get it all done at once. So pink, yellow, orange and green is the overall color palettes I've chosen for this month's spread. I'm going with the same as I find these color very attractive. Pink, yellow and orange are my favorite colors of all time, second only to white in that order. So I more often than not gravitate to these colors. They make everything look so pretty. For the habit tracker this month, I'm only focusing on three things that are skincare, journaling, and 8 hours of sleep. I have formed a habit with quite a few of what I had planned last time, but these three are the ones that I forget sometimes. There are a few days when I forget skincare and go straight to bed. So I'm only tracking three things this month. Something I have added different from the last month's planning is the mood tracker. I know people track their moods, but I hadn't included it before. I tried it last month and I liked it very much. So I'm going for it once again this month. To track my mood, I'm using a bar graph this month where the X line will represent the weeks and the Y line will represent the days of the week. I'll further divide the bars into 7 blocks each for 7 days of the week. That way I can fill in colors depending on my mood. The color codes I've chosen are yellow for great, orange for good, green for okayish, and red for bad. On the next page is my dedicated gratitude log. I see gratitude log as an essential part of my bullet journal because it helps me stay grounded. This month, instead of just writing down what I'm grateful for, I'm also planning on writing down all the happy memories of April. When it comes to memories, we tend to remember the sad, hurtful, and unwanted memories more often than the happy ones. Because you see, when something bad happens, we tend to replay it in our heads over and over again until it becomes a memory. We don't dwell on happy memories as much as we do on the bad ones. So, this month, I also want to focus on writing all the happy memories from April, whether it's big or small. That way, I can revisit my written memories to relive those moments and be grateful for them. Because you see, it's these little memories that bring the most joy in life. Flipping through to next, this is where the saga of the weekly logs begin. If there's anything I have learned from journaling is being consistent with bullet journaling works best in your favor when you plan your entire month's spread at once. On my first month of bullet journaling, I journaled straight till third week, but then I discontinued on my fourth week, which happened because I only planned the first week during the monthly planning. And I thought I would plan the rest of the week spread as the week progresses, which, by the way, did not happen. On the fourth week, I kept pushing the planning to a later date, thinking I'd do it tomorrow, and that tomorrow never came. That's pretty much why I did not do my March planning video. I said to myself I would only make another journaling video when I become more consistent with journaling. And so for March, I focused on becoming consistent with journaling, and I did so by planning the entire month of March journal spreads in one sitting, which helped me in becoming more consistent. All I had to do was open my journal every day and fill out the blocks and spaces. Since I planned the entire month at once, it did not seem like a chore to journal every day. Rather, it became a fun activity that I enjoyed and increased my productivity. So, if you are just starting out, I recommend you try planning the entire month at once. It will definitely be helpful. Since the first week of April has only 2 days, I combined it with week 2 so the journal looks more cohesive and put together. And I also decided to break the page off here to add some drawings. Since I already did lily pads before in the important date section, I will draw more lilies for my second week spread. I love this color scheme of pink and green. It's making the page look so good. I like this better than the one that I did before for the important date section. Let me know which one you love the best in the comment section below. I'll mark small green circles to highlight the dates of that week and draw another doodle of the duck here at the corner for fun. While I do that, let's go back to the story of the ugly duckling for a moment. Like I said before, the story of the ugly duckling sheds light on some important issue. Yeah, it brings attention to the importance of accepting people for who they are, being kind to others, the importance of self acceptance, and not judging people based on how they look. But what the story doesn't bring a lot of focus on is the importance of surrounding yourself with positive and uplifting people that see the best and bring out the best in you. I can't help but think how different the story would be had the cygnet surrounded itself with the birds of its kind. The whole reason for the cygnet to feel insecure, ugly, and having low self esteem was because of a false narrative it was instilled with from birth. Not that the cygnet was ugly or anything, it thought so because it looked different from the rest of the ducklings. Had the cygnet been born into its clan, it would always feel secure as the birds around it would look similar to itself and wouldn't make fun of it. When the cygnet in the story is too insecure to come out of the cave and ask the other swans to kill him instead, the swans just point out how beautiful and similar it looked to the other swans. The cygnet, once filled with sadness, suddenly has a happy realization that it was a beautiful swan all along. The people we surround ourselves with could have the same impact on us. Often, the things we are insecure about are the ideas that have been impregnated into us by an outside force. These are the same pill that tell you that you're not good enough, you're not beautiful enough, you're not smart enough, you're not capable enough, and whatnot. All of these have an impact on the listener. That's why it's so important to surround ourselves with positive and uplifting people that help us see the best and bring out the best in us. If you are at the moment going through some self doubts, I hope from this story you can understand that you're no less than anybody else. You are just as beautiful, just as capable, just as good enough and smart enough as everyone else. I hope that you can throw out any false narrative you're telling yourself because of someone else. I hope you surround yourself with people that are good to you and uplift you and bring the best out of you. Coming back to the journal, for the third week of April, I have this beautiful spread inspired by Japanese koi fish pond. I learned from my mistake earlier when I colored the pond with brush markers, so I'm going with watercolors for painting water. Then I'm just finishing off everything else with brush markers. I'm also dividing the page into equal parts for daily log entries. And that's pretty much it for week 3. Finally, we are to week 4 of the April spread planning. For the fourth week, I'm keeping it pretty simple, basically because I'm a little tired from painting the koi fish pond. Well, not tired, but it's getting longer than I thought it would. So, for the fourth week, I'm keeping it simple by adding lilies, lily pads, and another cutie here. This little cutie holding a leaf is looking as if it is deeply contemplating the life decisions it has made so far, but it's cute. It looks fluffy and cute, and I really like it. I initially wanted to place the dates within each of those lily pads, but what happened is that I completely forgot about it and drew it as I did for all the other pages without leaving any space inside. So I had to go with writing the dates out of the lily pads. I'm also drawing these lines to sort of mark a distinction between each day of the week. And that's about for week 4. Let's now go about planning week 5. Since I already drew all the elements of a pond like lily pads, ducks, fishes, and everything else, I figured the only thing left for me to draw now for week 5 is a frog. So I'm going with a frog for week 5. And I must admit that I had a lot of fun drawing this one. I also tried to experiment with bleeding the colors of brush markers and it turned out so good. It made me so happy. I also finally added some pond plants to finish off the page. Since I hadn't used much of blue for the entire spread except for the pond, I also went ahead and marked the lines for each day of the week with blue and finished it off by outlining with a black gel pen. I initially thought I would write the names of each day in the block, but then since I marked the dates for all the previous ones, I had to go for only dates for this as well. Alright, now that the month's planning is finally done, let me show you quickly what we have so far. For my cover page, I've kept it pretty simple with a green background and some doodle and lettering. For the second page, I have the important dates for which this time I have left a lot of space. Next is my page for goals of the month, expenses, and review. For this month's habit tracker, I've kept it simple with just 3 habits. I've also added a bar graph to track my mood. The plan is that at the end of every day, I would come back here and fill a block with a color representing my mood. Next is my gratitude page, which, by the way, turned out so well this time. Flipping through to next, I have my first and second week combined. Then I have a koi fish pond theme for week 3. Week 4 and week 5 are pretty minimalistic with a couple of doodles, and that's pretty much all for April bullet journal planning. And with that, it's pretty much a wrap. If you like this month's spread, leave a comment below, give this video a big thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time, but until then, take care, dear friend.